Hey, and we're live, so welcome. Thank you for watching already. Whoever is going to come on, actually I don't do this at a regular time, so we're always getting different people showing up, which is really cool because people ask different questions and stuff. Um, so thank you in advance to whoever shows up. And again, you're always free to ask questions at any time. Just write them in the chat. Um, Okay, so let's go ahead and get a few things out of the way. Some kind of housekeeping stuff. Or basically, I migrated a lot of our online Catch Wrestling Alliance or CWA Academy stuff over to our new website platform, right? So now everything is all together. So all you have to do is just go to our regular website address, which is catchwrestlingalliance.com. So that'll have basically all our information, so including like news, blog stuff, also all our online courses and stuff that will also be all at one place. So um, if you're already part of it, you can actually, I'll probably send out an email so that basically you get transferred over. Um, so it should be a relatively easy process and stuff. So I just want to get that out there also. And then the other thing would be like you can also become a member of this channel, and YouTube is making it easier for you to kind of see some of the videos that we have. So you'll actually just go to our home screen, and it will be one of the playlist. Actually, it should be the second playlist on our home screen for this channel, for the Catch Wrestling Alliance YouTube channel. So you kind of see some of the videos we have up there. If you want to support us, then you will get access to those videos. Also, you can support us just like with a tiny, a couple dollars a month, and then that would just be like if you just want to support us and you don't care about watching these extra like behind the scene videos. There's also some technique videos up there, some leg lock videos. I know leg locks are really popular nowadays. We have John Strickland with going over some fundamental stuff with regards to some leg locks up there. So that's that, right? So that's all for you. That's what you can do here, and then also you can also go ahead and check out our new website. I know everything's not up there yet. There's even a lot of record stuff with regards to our like our results from our other events. That stuff hasn't been transfer or when I try to transfer it over, it didn't come out just right. So I think I'll just be manually putting stuff up. That's why everything is not perfect yet, but it'll get there, right? So it's just I'm basically doing it all by myself, so it takes time. Um, so with that being said, let's go ahead and get to our main topic for today. So the IBJJF, right? So that is kind of like the biggest jiu-jitsu organization in the world, decided to now allow heel hooks for brown and black belt competition. Mainly, what's been going on is that, um, if you go to a traditional sport jiu-jitsu school or academy, the main leg lock you're gonna know or like just be going over from white belt to black belt would be your Achilles lock, right? So that's the one where basically you'll have the foot, right, and you'll have your arm underneath, so basically wrapped around the ankle. You're not really doing anything with the toes or the heel. It's that one where let's see if I can choose that. No, that's the heel hook here in this image. We'll go over this stuff in the back later. Um, the stuff you might see behind me. So if anybody's listening to the podcast, I'll just have a few images that we'll kind of go over with regards to this topic, right? So traditional sport jiu-jitsu academies, a lot of them will be going with these rules, right? So they follow IBJJF rules, right? So even the academy I was teaching at for a few years, one of the Cabrinha schools, it was called Cabrinha West Side, located in West LA. They really stuck to these rules, and they were a little some of them were either they were showing their displeasure with me showing some leg lock stuff, or they would ask like, "Oh, is this legal?" So you get, which I think is very, very strange, because coming from a catch wrestling background where very few things are illegal, and also too, I mean, you had like that movement a few years ago where Rose Gracie, she wanted to try to bring back jujitsu to the more self defense aspect. So that's why she had Gracie Nationals and Gracie Nationals and Gracie Worlds, those tournaments where it was like a submission only based tournaments. They basically just used the Eddie Bravo Invitational rules. So in a way, it kind of became like the Olympics for 10th Planet schools, um, because that's kind of their format too. So that's the thing. So even amongst jujitsu schools, um, they have different philosophies. So not everyone relies on IBJJF, but you better believe that a lot of schools really do. And so you'll see that's why it's like, um, according to the results, you'll have like Alliance, which is like a major jujitsu academy system, right, which Cobrinha was a part of. Um, you have like Checkmat, and you have a few others that they'll definitely be training their people or their students for those rules. So because they're always competing in IBJJF tournaments. They're competing in a lot of tournaments, granted, but um, IBJJF rules really influence what is taught in a lot of jujitsu schools. So that is showing that with the allowance, or that how they will be allowing heel hooks in brown belt and black belt divisions, could be a major game changer with regards to jujitsu in particular, because I think one of the things that I have been seeing, because I've been keeping up more with the professional grappling events, is that you have these people who are IBJJF world champions, right, in whatever belt, right. So whatever belt is, whatever belt level they are, they've won in the world championship in IBJJF, and they might lose in a submission only tournament. They might get heel hooked, right? So not only are many of them losing, and I can't think of an example off the top of my head. I hate. I think because I have a PhD and I've spent so many years at university, is like usually everything you say has to have some kind of reference, but I can't think of, or I can't remember all of the times that you hear like, oh, such and such a person is a IBJJF world champion, and then they've lost um, in competition. Well, actually, one way to one way to give some citation, or at least some evidence to what I just said, would be like, look at a lot of the people that Gordon Ryan has beat, right? A lot of them are IBJJF champs, right? So um, so let's keep going. So I think what could happen, right, is that we can or we might see more of the IBJJF competitors, especially at the brown and black levels, becoming better at these techniques, right? So like with regards to leg locks, well, in particular heel hooks, right? But the thing is, you might still have like this lag because of all the leg rules, right? So they're gonna have to um, uh, modify the rules. So not only just allowing those techniques, or those submissions, right? But they have to uh, try to modify the way you can have your legs, right? Because there's a whole no reaping kind of rule where, so if you have the leg coming from the outside in across the belly button, right, that's already instant disqualification. You can have your leg coming from, so it's called like double outside ashi, right? So in catch wrestling, we call it a step over toe hold kind of position, where your leg comes from in between their legs to the outside of their hip. That you kind of have to modify that, or you can use that right now to do your Achilles lock, right? But there's also even rules amongst about that, right, where the angle has to be just right and all that. Otherwise, you'll get disqualified too. So they have a lot of stuff they're gonna have to, a lot of details they're gonna have to work out with regards to that. But let's go ahead and get into some of these other opinions. I kind of wanted to get some of these other opinions for you guys. Let me see here. So I have them behind me on the screen. Let me see if I can skip to it. So John Danaher was talking about, like, of course, heel hooks and stuff are gonna change the game, right? But he's talking about like um, they're not going to be doing that rule for gi tournament or what's called the gi divisions, right? So that's also going to be some kind of major thing where he believes that uh, gi and no gi are really kind of separate or diverging, right? And so they're becoming different sports in a way, right? And his point regarding the gi, and he kind of feels like, yeah, it's great that um, that if heel hooks aren't going to be allowed in gi competition, because then kind of like how we see everyone pulling guard in gi competition nowadays. So he believes that like gi competition will turn into like who can get the leg quickest, right? Because you can easily grab the pants, right, and hang on even easier than actually trying to set up getting the leg when you're in no gi or in a wrestling competition or a wrestling scenario, right? So it's much more difficult when you're not wearing the pants that you can easily grab, right? So how we've seen also too, with regards to sport jiu-jitsu and gi, people are like, as soon as the ref blows the whistle to start, people are sitting down, right? And so actually old co-instructor of mine at Cobrina's, Isaac Doderling, he just lost. Was it the other last weekend at the Pan American competition and for the IBJJF? Um, he was sitting on his butt. The other guy, his competition or his opposition, pretty much just stayed on top and was able to actually even pass guard and basically racked up all these points, beat Isaac. Um, but Isaac really has that sit down type um, style, right? And he's lost matches before for that, where people have been able to time his seated guard, right, or his guard pull, and they're able to make it look as though they initiated a takedown, and it looked like a takedown to the ref, so they got points, and they were able to keep it at that for the whole time period, and they're able to win. So um, needless to say, you can see why other schools, like say like 10th Planet, would not like IBJJF, and so a lot of these other schools that may be more self-defense oriented or whatever, they won't like anything like this, right? Because there's already so many rules. You can only grab the legs certain ways. You can't put your legs in different positions and stuff like that. Um, so you see already, I think even amongst nogi, because a lot of the nogi competitions are submission only, right? So you already see kind of like this disdain that has grown over the years for IBJJF rules and IBJJF just in particular, and I think that's why they're changing um, their rules, allowing for brown and black belts to have heel hooks, right? But then let me see this in particular here. So Keenan Cornelius believes IBJJF can overtake ADCC with the new rules, and then that actually was shared by Gordon Ryan. Um, but Gordon's take on Keenan's take was that um, it's like there's really no way IBJJF will overtake them because says Nogi Worlds will never be as big as ADCC unless they start paying massive amounts of money, and even then ADCC can just pay more, right? So that's a good point, because I think basically IBJJF, even though they still dominate, I mean seriously, uh, like we are, especially with the Nogi point of view, I think a lot of these other schools, because like say 10th Planet, they have a lot of affiliates, right, all over the world, and um, you have and they're popular. A lot of their gyms are packed, like all the time, right? So they have a lot of competitors. There was a lot of schools going to the Gracie Nationals and Gracie Worlds, so you do have, I think, a large amount of people that are liking these kind of like maybe submission only things, um, or submission only rules. So you have kind of like this base that's already kind of anti IBJJF. So I think it will be hard for them to overtake uh, ADCC, like according to like or to kind of contradict what Keenan Cornelius believes will like would happen, right? Also, too, I mean, the other thing is like IBJJF, they charge for a lot of stuff, right? So your instructor has to pay them to be recognized, and you have to pay annual membership and like yeah, there's a bunch of little things there that really annoy people, and go to any school that's kind of like outside of IBJJF, and they'll list a lot of their complaints, right? All right, so a bunch of you are commenting. So let's see. Cool. So Ron, you guys at your school train heel hooks, even though you can't use them in most tourneys that you compete in. Great. You really have to become proficient in those. It's basically like how no gi is done in particular. It's also gi too, but I mean like you definitely don't want to like uh, not be proficient and then have to do a tournament where someone's going to be trying to um, go for the leg locks, right? You can't just go in there like blind, right? And then you go on to say that training at an MMA gym, right? You learn like jujitsu and catch wrestling stuff, and then you go to tournaments, and so that yeah, you have to read the rules. But IBJJF got a lot of rules for your legs, for playing with legs. So yeah, you definitely have to be very familiar. Yeah, ADCC definitely does have its own rules and stuff, but you'll see like IBJJF's got all these things. So even when Cobrinha West Side was still open, um, they were surprised by some people. Some people were coming in doing some so when they were rolling, and then they would say, "Oh, you can't do that. That's illegal." And IBJJF, and then they said, "No, no, this is a new rule change. You can do it this way or whatever." And so um, that can be a problem. So yeah, you definitely have to be reading the rules and reading the updates of rules. Otherwise, especially with IBJJF, they disqualify you instantly, and that's it. Like you're done. You can't really. Um, you can't argue. So if you don't make weight, you're done, right? Or if you don't, they're not going to bump you up or put you in a lower division or a higher weight division. It's just that's it. You're gone, right? And I've seen that happen many times. Um, so, uh, any of you guys have your thought? Any other thoughts? Right? Oh, so Ron, let's see. You kind of like doing the yeah, kind of like getting DQ'd, right, for doing a bicep slicer, and yeah, all these things that would be okay, like say in maybe no gi competition or like a submission only competition or catch wrestling, because bicep slicers actually are not considered so much. What's it called? Like submissions in catch wrestling, they're actually ways to secure the arm, and then you would be um, forcing the person to pin themselves, right? So you forcefully secure their arm, and then use your whole body to roll them over onto their backs, right? So that's kind of a that's why stuff like that has always been legal in catch wrestling. So it's just considered a hold, right? A wrestling hold, right? So one way to control the other person and pin them. Right? Let me see. What do you think? So Robbie or Ripper Catch Wrestling, saying, what do you think is going to be the evolution of catch wrestling next? Really, I think the main thing is we're kind of still in uh, the foundational phase. Basically getting people more exposed to it. Right. Our events have by far been like the most exciting. Showcasing actual like higher level catch wrestling. Say like with the likes of say like you guys, if you see, and we'll be sharing more on this channel. Now that YouTube wants us to be doing like short videos, so we'll be showing short highlights, especially say of Matt Tran. Matt Tran in particular, he grew up only doing catch wrestling with John Strickland, out in South Carolina. So he didn't do jujitsu. So I think he's a kind of a good example of say some how you can be successful not only in catch wrestling competition because he's competed in at least two or three of our events, and we'll kind of show you more of the highlights. And so he's also competed in several grappling competitions as well. So like no gi stuff, all right? So we'll kind of show you that, and so you can kind of see our events how they were done, and then gonna we'll still continue to do more, but COVID has really kind of slowed all that. But we'll continue. So like at least now, since we'll be putting out some more 15-second videos, we'll be putting out some more highlights, right? Oh, so you're saying the Barambolo, right? Going using the Barambolo to shoulder lock, and so some refs thinks it's a bicep slicer. Yeah, you get all these kind of situations where there's even one that I saw. There was a highlight being showed where it was for IBJJF competition, I believe, and so someone put their legs in legal position, right? So they weren't reaping or whatever, but they moved at a certain angle. So then that angle of holding the Achilles lock was illegal, and then this woman in particular got disqualified instantly. So um, it's tough, right? It's tough. So because of all these other things, I think these little minor things, if they're not also just gotten rid of, then yeah, it's like I don't think IBJJF can overtake ADCC with regards to popularity. And that was the other thing that was that Gordon Ryan wrote, where it's like he felt that um, at Worlds it was packed when it was packed with spectators when he was competing, and he says other than that, it's not really so packed. Yeah, I've been to Nogi and Gi Worlds, and I mean, there's still a lot of people, but yeah, it's definitely like a lot of supporters. But like, yeah, you do when you see the ADCC finals, it's just packed with spectators. Um, so people really uh, find these matches exciting, and we are seeing say even a lot like almost every weekend now. There's some pretty cool grappling competitions like on flow grappling and stuff. So I think grappling in general is laying the framework. So kind of going back to what Robbie was saying, where or Robbie was asking, it's like what's kind of the evolution. Well, I think the foundational stuff is being kind of laid, not only with Catch Wrestling Alliance, but you'll see even some of these no-gi competitions being done, right? So especially the no-gi submission only stuff. You'll have some people complaining. Oh, there was like one. I think it was like that Tom DeBlas, or he was saying something about like, oh, these no-gi submission only tournaments. It will kind of ruin your game because you got to be working on the foundational stuff like passing guard and whatever. That's yeah, sure, that's fine. But I don't really believe that, especially watching so many of them or watching so many matches. I think you are seeing people who are trying to be well rounded. I mean, they'll still go for leg locks and stuff. And I think one match in particular just that's comes to mind would be one of the Meow brothers versus um, Gio Martinez, who so he's 10th Planet Black Belt nearby here, actually, well, just south of here, closer to San Diego. Um, but yeah, you had them trying to pass guard, even though 10th Planet guy would be working on leg locks all the time. So um, I I don't think that training for submission only will make you only a leg locker, right? You really gotta train to like basically get control of the body and enough control of the body so that you can try your leg locks or whatever lock you want, right? Whether it be shoulder locks or even depending on the rules like the different calf slicers, bicep slicers, and stuff. And so then so since going back to the whole thing about that foundation being laid for catch wrestling, um, yeah, I mean, catch wrestling is exciting in that way because uh, unlike IBJJF, there aren't so many rules about how like your legs can be. You can reap the knee and all that stuff. is considered illegal. The only thing that could block you would be, you putting yourself into a pin, right? So if you can't finish your submission hold, right, or if you can't do a sweep like we had in Singapore, we had a match that involved Matt Tran. His opponent was trying to do in 10th Planet system. It's called, like, you're trying to do an electric chair sweep. Right? Actually, it's a yeah, yeah. You're trying to do the electric chair sweep. That was no the submission. Anyway, so you start with lockdown position. All right, so guy's on bottom, locks down one leg, and then tries to sweep them over to the electric chair submission. Right. So Matt was able to prevent the sweep from continuing, or he prevented his opponent from rolling him over completely, and the opponent stayed with his back on the mat, right, and just stuck there. He's just kind of struggling to get him either to come forward or back. He was stuck, right, and he was stuck there for several seconds, more than the 2 seconds that we usually count for the pin. It was probably about 5 seconds, right? And because I was the ref for that match, I was being a little generous because, uh, yeah, just because I'm a nice guy, right? But yeah, so just to show, basically, he was stuck, right? So that's the only thing. So you can be doing all these different things, right? And you just have to make sure you don't pin yourself, right? Let's see. So you guys have also been asking other questions. Yeah, why not steal stuff back? Well, yeah, I mean, I think so. Ron again is asking, like, why not steal stuff back, like the wrestler's guillotine and the double wrist lock, and um, take some of the innovations from other grappling arts and name it its own thing and catch. Well, that's the thing. Many things don't have a name in catch wrestling. Like we weren't necessarily so much to say like the Japanese, where they really named every little thing. But certain, we try to use the names that we have, right? So like, like the double wrist lock, which is an older name than Kimura, and the wrestler's guillotine and all that, which is an older name in English, right? Than the twister and stuff. So yeah, I think just we putting it out there, like on our social media, and especially the commentators during the matches and stuff when these things happen. Yeah, they should be using the proper catch wrestling terminology instead of the mainstream jiu-jitsu terminology. Sometimes you can kind of maybe do that and then to introduce or try to uh, like help the audience to understand what's going on or whatever, but then you can be using the the catch wrestling terminology, right? So you kind of introduce the common term or that's known as jiu-jitsu, and then switch it or basically introduce that wrestling term, which a lot of times is older than kind of like the modern. Say like Twister is definitely definitely very modern. It's only a few years old, really. Not to say it's only like 5 years old. 10th Planet's been around for a while. Oh, that's thanks, Bob. So some Bob said that my head shape looks like a horse kick couldn't knock you. Yeah, thankfully I haven't been knocked out in kickboxing, so that's good. I've taken a lot of hits, so yeah, he might be right. He might be right. And I did have a little pony when I was a boy, but I don't remember it knocking me out. And luckily, I don't think it ever kicked me in the head, but I might have. I wouldn't remember. Yeah. And then Mech BioWare got for a new wave of champions. All right. Yeah. So, sure. Yeah. Hopefully, we can be doing more regular catch wrestling competition, and then also too for a few years now too. Even Craig Jones is like we did a review about that where I think they did a documentary about him, and one of the things he said was that he believes that the next innovation in jiu-jitsu, especially nogi, will be coming from wrestling, and really I believe the best innovation should be coming from catch wrestling because we're cognizant of submission holds, right? So you can't just be going in there and like we've seen, and actually we've been talking about it for a few weeks now, where it's like we're getting these high level wrestlers, freestyle and whatnot, and they're getting submitted, right? It was just last week. Ramos, one of our best freestyle wrestlers, got submitted in like 22 seconds by Nicky Ryan. It's like, and yeah, so we kind of got to stop that. So, and I think one of the best ways to stop that would be the proliferation of catch wrestling instead of like freestyle and even folk style, unfortunately, because folk style bars submissions, and actually, so like you can actually even go back for many decades and even see some of the double wrist lock being used in even I think like 1940. Actually, last night I was looking at 1940, maybe 42's collegiate wrestling finals, and yeah, I mean people were still using the double wrist lock to again as a wrestling hold, not a submission to try to force the guy over to a pin. All right. So yeah, all these things are really real wrestling moves, but they've just been stripped from folk style and definitely freestyle. So that's why I do believe